अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल गंगा, विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा, उत्कल जलधि तरंगा, तव शुभ नामे जागे, तव शुभ आशीष मांगे, गावे तव जय गाथा, जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
Namaste. Honorable Chief Guest and Governor of Odisha, His Excellence Professor Ganeshi Lal, Guest of Honor, Guest Keynote Speaker, Conference Chair and Co-Chair, Pro Vice Chancellor, Convener, Coordinators of the Conference, Delegates, Members from the print and the electronic media, Invited Guests, Members of faculty and staff, and my student colleagues. Very good evening and a warm welcome to everyone present in the inaugural ceremony of the 8th International Management Conference, Imcon 2022, on the theme Building Resilience, the Way Forward. I now request our Chief Guest, His Excellency Professor Ganeshi Lal, Honorable Governor of Odisha, to inaugurate the conference by lighting the lamp. I now request Professor Kalyan Shankar Rai, Vice Chancellor, ASBM University and Co-Chair of the conference, to deliver the welcome address.
Delegates, invited guests, esteemed members of the media, Pro Vice Chancellor Professor Falguni Ranjana, Dean School of Business Dr. Manmatnath Samantrai, Convener Dr. Smaraki Patnaik, Coordinators Dr. Barada Prasanna Mahapatra and Dr. Kaushik Bhuya, my colleagues from the faculty and the administration, and dear students. I cordially welcome you all to this international conference on building resilience, the way forward. Knowledge dissemination is the basic foundation for any educational institution worth the name. Therefore, we at ASBM conduct conferences, symposia and seminars very regularly. We had our last international conference in this auditorium in January 2020. The unprecedented pandemic of COVID-19 could not diminish our spirit despite its frequent bouts of lockdowns and shutdowns. And we did organize 6 symposia at the national level and 1 national banking conclave in the digital mode during these 2 years. What is more, we have conducted 51 webinars during the pandemic, and thereby ASBM has unwittingly created a national record. We feel elated that after 2 years in quandary, ASBM is organizing this international conference today in the physical mode as a demonstration of resilience. It is a great honor to have His Excellency Professor Ganeshi Lal, Honorable Governor of Odisha, as our esteemed chief guest to grace this conference as a celebration of the spirit of resilience. We feel privileged, for he is not only the first citizen of the state, but is also a great educationist and is regarded as an authority on the Bhagavad Gita. We feel humbled by his presence and welcome him with all humility. I also express my sincere gratitude to him. Our esteemed guest of honor, Professor D.P. Agrawal, is a reputed academician and a former chairman of UPSC. Our respected keynote speaker, Mr. Richard Rekhi, is director of KPMG Dubai and a former CEO of KPMG India. This team of an acclaimed academician and a celebrated industry practitioner makes an ideal combination to enlighten us on the theory and the practice of resilience. I cordially welcome Professor Agrawal and Mr. Rekhi and cannot thank them enough. A former professor of IIM Indore and IIM Lucknow and the founder and president of ASBM University, Professor Biswajit Patnaik is an institution builder and is regarded an authority on human resource management. I do welcome him. I also welcome our guests, the delegates, the members of the press, the members of faculty and staff, and our students to this conference. Let us together celebrate the spirit of resilience. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I now request Professor Biswajit Patnaik, founder and president ASBM University and chair of the conference, to address the gathering.
His Excellency Professor Ganeshi Lal, Honorable Governor of Odisha, esteemed guest Professor D.P. Agrawal, former Chairman UPSC, and Mr. Richard Rekhi, Member KPMG Board, Dubai, and former CEO of KPMG India, Vice Chancellor Professor Kalyan Shankar Rai, invited guests, esteemed members of the press and electronic media, convener of Imcon Dr. Smaraki, coordinators Dr. Barada and Dr. Kaushik, Pro Vice Chancellor Professor Falgu Niranjana, my faculty colleagues, delegates and students. At the outset, I welcome all of you to the 8th International Management Conference hosted by ASBM University. We are privileged to have on this occasion the presence and blessings of Honorable Governor Professor Ganeshi Lal, a renowned educationist and an erudite speaker who just has formally inaugurated the conference. We are thankful to you, sir, for your gracious presence. I now take the opportunity to introduce the theme of Imcon 2022, Building Resilience, the Way Forward. Karmanya badhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana, said Lord Krishna in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. This adage presents one of the first examples of resilience in action. When Arjuna was not willing to fight, he was completely unpleased and bewildered and was under a state of utter helplessness. Krishna's discourse made him fight back with renewed vigor. There are many more examples of resilience in the great epic Mahabharata that teaches that courage, conviction and genuine efforts always help mankind become resilient and bounce back in the face of any adversity. So Lord Krishna's advice is as relevant today as it was during the Kurukshetra battle. In fact, this has been lucidly explained in the book Non-Attached Attachment, authored by His Excellency Professor Ganesi Lal. I feel it pertinent to quote the great psychiatrist and author Viktor Frankl from his famous book Man's Search for Meaning. Quote, "To live is to suffer. To survive is to find meaning in the suffering. Even the helpless victim of a hopeless situation facing a fate that he cannot change may rise above himself." Unquote. This is a true reflection of resilience. It is a VUCA world today. Life is beset with volatility, uncertainty, complexity and ambiguity. Ups and downs are normal phenomena in life and we face adversities day in, day out. However, human beings, the greatest creation of the Almighty, are exceptional. Resilience is a unique feature that marks human nature. Despite all adversities, hardships and misfortune, the human race bounces back and stands tall, which has been reflected in the post-COVID situation. What is true for a human being is also true for an organization. For after all, an organization comprises and is built by human beings. It is very common for organizations to go through in their lifetime adversities like war, terrorist attacks, pandemics, financial crisis, technology explosion, uncertainties, etc. These in fact work like a balloon, and also it is a boon, for adversities are the mother of invention. They challenge the organizations to turn the wheel, reinvent and come out with innovative strategies through the adoption of new systems, methods and technology. Thereby they develop resilience. Most organizations face challenge and hardship and are resilient enough to bounce back to normalcy and move on the path of development. Research on organizational resilience suggests that successful firms remain ready for adversity and become proactive and flexible when encountering a crisis. They prepare for difficult situations and show the capacity, investigate, learn and act without knowing in advance what one will be called to act upon. McKinsey and Company have in their August 2021 issue of McKinsey on risk highlighted 6 dimensions of resilience, namely institutional resilience, financial resilience, operational resilience, technological resilience, organizational resilience and reputational resilience. A resilient business model has to encompass all these 6 for the organization to face the challenge effectively and bounce back. It has been seen historically that life is not a seamless journey. Rather, it is full of roller coasters and ups and downs. At the same time, it has been experienced that the human being is the greatest fighter in adversities. In fact, the Almighty has created the human body with an auto-resilient system that always bounces back. The only difference lies in the attitude of resilience, which has been built over the years with a lot. They are built by human beings. Therefore, the human attitude towards an object or a situation makes the difference. It will be pertinent to mention here a famous quote, let's not pretend that things will change if we keep doing the same things. A crisis can be a real blessings to any person, to any nation. For all crises bring progress. What therefore is necessary is to make ourselves resilient for. After all, resilient individuals create a resilient society that ultimately evolves into resilient organizations. The question that then arises is how to make an individual resilient. Craig Braden, in his book Resilience from the Heart, answers, know yourself, have a sense of personal hope, build strong interpersonal relationships, and find a personal meaning in life. Ultimately, Rig Veda says, where there is harmony between the mind, heart, and resolution, then nothing is impossible. I am sure that lots of deliberations will be made in this conference which will add substantial value to the discipline of resilience. Lastly, I express my gratitude to His Excellency for sparing his valuable time and being with us. And we are lucky to have his blessings on this auspicious day. I thank Professor Agarwal and Reki for their participation. Thank you very much. Jai Odisha, Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. I now request Mr. Richard Reki, Board Member KPMG Dubai and former CEO KPMG India, to address this assemblage.
Good evening, everybody. Your Excellency, Governor of Odisha, Shri Ganeshi Lalji, it is a privilege. I've been hearing about you and I've met you today, so it's an honor. Mr. D.P. Agarwal, who's the former chairman of Union Public Service Commission, Professor Patnaik, who's an old friend, and Professor Kalyan Shankari, and all the various dignitaries sitting in the audience, and of course the students for who this conference is held, a very warm welcome and a very good evening to you. Today we are talking on a topic which I think is a very relevant topic in today's time. Because I know when COVID struck, the only point we were talking about is when will we ever be able to bounce back, and at that time the world was lost. It was like, putting lights in the deer's eyes. Everybody didn't know what to do. The biggest challenge, let me tell you, in any such situation, crisis is going to happen. You can't run away from it. It is how you bounce back and how quickly you bounce back. And I will give you a few instances where crises have hit the globe and how the world has actually benefited from it. And I think those are important things that we need to understand. But one thing I can say is that, I don't know if anybody saw The Economist, it had a lock on the world. First time the entire world was closed. All supply chains broken, no trade, people were just sitting at home and scared, didn't know what is going to happen to them health-wise. So our ways of working from home suddenly became a reality. We kept discussing it, but it never became a reality. It became a reality. Studying, I mean, you all have done your online classes, socializing, entertaining, not meeting people, and yet still socializing through Zoom and Teams and other such medium. And of course, we had challenges around unemployment. A lot of people lost their jobs. And actually, the people who lost their jobs the most were two types. One was the bottom of the pyramid, the poor people who lost their jobs, and a lot of women lost their jobs. Women, I mean, these were the two big things that got hit. And now there is a rebound, it's how to get this back. And of course, the inequality that got built up during the COVID period, where the rich got richer and the poor got poorer. This is a reality the whole world faces. Nothing to do with India or any part of the world. It happened across developed countries, developing countries, everywhere. However, history has shown that major disruptions, when they happen, it also paves the way for new policies, and the countries possibly come out stronger. I want to give you 3 or 4 instances. In the 14th century, when 1400s or 1347 to be exact, when there was a plague in Europe, where wiped out almost 1/3 of Europe's population, what happened? by that time the prices of labor, because there was labor shortage, went up. So the inequality which was there of labor shortage, it went up because the wages went up, and I think that was a thing. World War II, all the men were at war, so who got into the economy? The women got into the economy. That was the first time women worked, and they filled up all the jobs which are there available. So if women came into the World War II was a big time when women came into employment. 2003 SARS, those people who know 2003, China and that Southeast Asia was hit by SARS, and travel became a problem, selling goods, shops were closed, everything. Then came online. Alibaba was already there, but Alibaba grew during 2003 SARS. It became a reality, online sales. And the last one was 2611 happened, it changed the way we travel, completely changed the way we travel. People were talking of privacy, people were talking of other things. Every went to the wind, security was more important than privacy. So life changes. I just want to tell you, I don't know what this COVID-19 is going to do. COVID-19 is not over. We keep hearing things that is going to come back and everything else. But our social attitudes, our way we work and how we consume. The one big positive of COVID which I saw, which I've personally seen, is that the world has become more minimalist, and I think that is very good, because that was our old culture. If you look at our forefathers' heritage, we were not mass consumption, wasteful consumption, we were minimalist, and I think that is what has come. I just hope it stays, because you know how these things, when they come back, the other big thing that has happened, you don't need to go for a 1-hour meeting to London or New York or to any other city. You can do it over Zoom, you can do it over Teams. So travel, your environment, everything is getting protected. So I think there are some positives which have come out of COVID, and I think that is something that we need to look at. I do not know how many of you remember when the internet first came in, and there were various companies which were there. In fact, today I got a WhatsApp message of Amitabh Bachchan riding a bike, and every other brand in that picture, this is 43 years back in Sholay, doesn't exist. Only one brand exists, and that is Amitabh Bachchan himself. So the point I want to make out here, brands don't last out. Brands have to survive, and to survive you've got to be resilient. It's not that he didn't have his ups and downs, but he bounced back every time he went through a down. And I think that is something that we need to look at. Secondly, technology, even before COVID came in, technology was all over. I mean, technology was overtaking our lives, it was pervasive. I had read one of the futurists saying that what is science fiction yesterday is a reality today, and what is science fiction today will become a reality tomorrow. And that is what we are seeing. This is what technology, the power of technology, what it is doing. The one kind of thing that I will leave here with everybody to think about, technology is good, but technology should not be misused. And technology is a unifier. It is to bring people together, to make things better. So I think the biggest challenge in technology, and for students, for universities like ABA, for y'all and others who are teaching kids, is that how do we maintain the integrity of the student? Because that becomes very important, because technology challenges that very integrity. Because it hides behind, because the engineer doesn't know whether this is good or bad. And so the way the education system has to change to be able to become cross-functional and just not one stream of education which is important. So we saw the internet boom, I said, a lot of companies disappeared. And we are seeing today the companies which will not absorb technology will not survive. So I think technology is good because it makes people more, companies more efficient. It also helps supply chains. It also helps in moving from offline to online. And it also helps in reducing the need for travel and manpower, which on one side is not good, but I think people need to reskill themselves and actually get up that value chain. So retail online, today you don't see your customer. He buys online. So the complete customer behavior, the way companies deal with customers has to change, because today online is become the main thing which is there. The other big thing, big advantage for India is our startup community. The startup industry is booming today across the big countries in the world, whether it's US, China, India. And India, one day, somebody from this podium will come and say that India is today the number one. Today we are number 3 in startups, but possibly with the number of unicorns that are being built, But again, one warning out here, please build it on the right values and right ethics, and don't go down the wrong path just to make money. It will not help. There is nothing known as shortcut. Every shortcut is a long cut, and it comes to hurt you later on. So I think the startup is going to be where life is going to change for all of us, and as we improve, entrepreneurship is going to be for y'all students who are now going to pass out. You'll have to think of which business venture I want to start. It's not about going and taking an employment. It's going to be which is the company I'm going to form. Am I going to make the next Facebook? Am I going to make the next Apple out of India? That is something you should look at. And like I said, modernizing supply chains. We are moving from mass production to mass customization. And I think that is very important. And when we talk of a resilient economy, it depends on sustainable practices. Companies which practice sustainability are the ones which will be more resilient and which will be able to bounce back as we go on. And focus on healthcare has never been more important. Today it's about wellness. And other big thing that got challenged during this COVID time was the character of the leader. The character of the leader got challenged because the leaders which actually came out and were with their people and stood tall out there and took the right decisions are the ones who have survived. So I just want to end by saying that pandemic can be viewed as a global wake-up call, one that has underscored the need to place sustainability and social justice at the center of public policy. Because now when we come for the growth, it's got to be an inclusive growth where everybody can grow together. As history has shown, choices made during crisis can shape the world for decades to come. Only then can we protect the health, livelihoods, food security, and nutrition of all people, and ensure that the new normal is a better one, and in the post-pandemic world, we will be a far more resilient economy than what we are today. Thank you very much and all the best.
Thank you, sir. I would now like to request our guest of honor, Professor D.P. Agarwal, former Chairman, Union Public Service Commission, to address the gathering.
Good afternoon, friends. His Excellency, Professor Ganeshi Lalji, Governor of State of Odisha, Rikhiji, Chancellor of the University, Professor Patnaik, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of the University, a very distinguished person in audience, in young friends. It's a great opportunity to share one's thought on a topic which has its birth, the word itself, in 17th century. Of course, the Patnaik ji spoke of dialogue between Lord Krishna and Arjun, but in effectively in the today's technological jargon, the word only appeared in 17th century. In understandingly, the meaning therefore was that if you survive in difficult times for which the word was used, many definitions appeared as the applications grew. And you would all be wondering that we talked real big in the topics which are there to look at industry, business, others. With a mundane example of resilience, one would understand. It was one scientist who used a lot of woods. And he realized that there would be certain woods which would stand up to all kind of challenges of weather, the shocks and stresses. Therefore, from the life you take examples where you can stand any stress, you can stand shocks, and you survive. That is what resilience would have. What I am going to talk about today is that this country today stands at a stage where we are ready to jump. And when we come up with a new word called Atmanirbhar Bharat, does it require all kinds of resiliences possible? Whether it's in human being, whether it's the technology, or is it going to society in general to accept that we have to survive by producing in India, using it in India, and making sure that we are not dependent on it. This dialogue in the realm of resilience has not come. I would like to see that during the conference, there are dialogues to look at whether the resilience look at the content of Atmanirbhar Bharat. The second point I like to make, we always look at GDP, we always look at the parameters, and we always talk of pandemic. But what is more critical in life is to get what I perceive is the peace and happiness. So it is the resilience of people which give me peace of my mind and heart. It creates peace in society. It makes us happy. If you look at the literature, the maximum of the literature on resilience happen on the individual resilience, the psychology, the sustainability. So these are the kind of challenges which this country faces. We have crossed pandemic, we will cross pandemic, there is no doubt. But the point is, are we happy? Are we happy with minimalistic? Or what I see today, the moment all these sanctions have been lifted, you find all aircraft full, you find all railways full, you find all markets full, everybody is buying everything. So where is the minimalistic? Unless we get into a realm of thinking that we are happy, and happy with minimalistic, that resilience system in society has to be built. And my last point would be, since India is a signatory on Sustainable World for Future, we signed in Paris our agreement. In Glasgow, we took little different position, recognizing the growth of the country. But without understanding each of these sustainable goals and linking resilience with the goals, we will not be successful. I'll end up with one simple example. One of the goals is zero hunger. 36% of people do not get 2 squares of meal in the world. If we have to go to resilience creating for zero hunger, SDG requires create agriculture resilience. You will find in all 17 SDGs examples where resilience is required. I spend my time in education, and I've seen the dilemma of students and teachers together during pandemic. And we all believe that yes, we got the mantra. My friend, it is not a mantra. Education would be done the way it was done. It has to be understood, it has to be adapted, it has to be assimilated. I am sure world future, particularly in this country, we will build society, we will build institution, we will make success of Atmanirbhar Bharat to be a resilient nation. Thank you very much. I wish you the best.
Thank you, sir. I now request the chair of the conference, Professor Bishwajit Patnaik, to felicitate the chief guest, His Excellency Professor Ganeshi Lal, Governor of Odisha, with a memento as a token of gratitude. Thank you, Honorable Governor, for accepting the memento. I now request Professor Bishwajit Patnaik to present a memento to Mr. Richard Rekhi. Thank you, sir, for accepting our token of appreciation. I request Professor Kalyan Shankar Rai to felicitate Dr. D.P. Agarwal with a memento. Thank you, sir, for accepting the memento. We have now the release of a book, a newsletter, and the compendium of research paper. The book Building Resilience, The Way Forward will be a condensed template for multi-layered discussion and debate, focusing on building resilience for all the sectors to resume our economic growth on different dimensions. The new issue of ASBM newsletter Phoenix purposes to offer engaging, pertinent, and vital information to its readers on varied endeavors of the university. May I now request Honorable Chief Guest, His Excellency Professor Ganesi Lal, Honorable Governor of Odisha, to kindly release the book Building Resilience, The Way Forward, the newsletter Phoenix, and the compendium of research paper. Thank you, sir. The moment has now come we all are waiting for. With utmost respect and humility,
जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भवतु मे. Honorable Dr. Richard Rekhi, Vice Chancellor of the University, Honorable Kalyan Shankar Ray ji, our erstwhile Chairman of the UGC, Dr. D.P. Agrawal ji, Vishwajit Patnaik ji, Founder, President of this University, eminence, excellence, elegance and brilliance of my Utkal Pradesh, Odisha, accept my salutations. एक बहुत बड़े फिलोसफर आपने नाम सुना होगा, जीबी शाह, जॉर्ज बर्नार्ड शाह. उनसे किसी ने पूछा मजाक में कि इस अर्थ का सेंटर कौन सा है, केंद्र कौन सा है. उसने कहा जिधर मैं खड़ा हूं वही तो सेंटर है. तो मैं समझता हूं कि आप सभी जॉर्ज बर्नार्ड शाह के मैनिफेस्टेशंस हैं, इनकारनेशंस हैं. एक और बहुत सुंदर सा बात है जो आपके सब्जेक्ट से कंसर्न्ड है. ट्रेन में जा रहे थे, टिकट कलेक्टर आ गया. उसने कहा टिकट दिखाइए. इधर उधर देखने लगे, टिकट तो नहीं है. कोशिश किया, इतने में कलेक्टर को मालूम पड़ गया, टिकट कलेक्टर को, अरे ये तो जॉर्ज बर्नार्ड शाह, इनसे क्या पूछना. तो उन्होंने कहा नहीं नहीं जॉर्ज साहब ठीक है, आई नो यू, इसलिए कोई आवश्यकता नहीं. बोले मुझको तुझे टिकट नहीं दिखाना है, मुझे देखना है कि मुझे किधर जाना है. Well, that is the crisis of the world, you see. And that is the subject, that is the subject you have placed before the whole of the world, rather, the building of the resilience is the way forward. Jana kidhar hai, that is the problem, you see. The greatest and the gravest crisis of this modern world, which you are just witnessing, you see. Well, that is the obscurity, seclusion, self and ego, false ego. false pride, false prestige, false association, false proprietorship. But that gives rise to sufferings, hatred, jealousy and what not, you see. So as far as, so what is to be done? जाना किधर है? टेक्नोलॉजी के एडवांसमेंट की तरफ जाना है, किधर जाना है? Arjuna was being mentioned, my founder is he, Vishwajit ji. Arjuna had almost all the possible technologies which the world till today cannot think of. He had the PhDs from Dronacharya University, Devendra University, Kamakhya Devi University, Pashupati Nath University. All the degrees he had, but he was confused. Hamlet-wise he was not able to decide what to do, what not to do. Hamlet-wise he was, you see. Lost his compass, bewildered almost, you see. फिर कृष्ण को अपनी उंगली पकड़ाता है कि मेरी उंगली पकड़ो तुम, मुझे नहीं मालूम क्या करना है क्या नहीं करना. इसलिए ये हो गया कि यत्र योगेश्वरः कृष्ण यत्र पार्थ धनुर्धरः. Where there is the Lord of mysticism and where there is Arjuna. एकेडमिक एक्सीलेंस के साथ स्पिरिचुअल एक्सीलेंस का होना बहुत जरूरी है. उसके बिना आप कहीं जा नहीं सकते हैं. उधर ही जाएंगे जिधर यूक्रेन जा रहा है या रूस जा रहा है या अमेरिका 20 वर्षों तक घूमता रहा. 328 लाख करोड़ रुपीस ही वेस्टेड इसे, और अंत में तालिबान को संभला के जाना पड़ा. यही हाल रूस का रहने वाला है. मैं आपके सामने कुछ लाइंस बोलता हूं, देखना. All the creatures of this world are just an expression of the Creator. If you are willing, any creature can be a doorway to the Creator. हम सब उसके अंश हैं. We are coming, all of us are coming on this planet, you see, from a very beautiful source. And the philosophers say that if you are constantly in touch with that beautiful source, everything will be beautiful. The problem is this, that we are not in constant touch with that beautiful source. हम सब उसके हैं, उसके एक्सप्रेशंस हैं, और चाहें तो उसकी तरफ जा सकते हैं. जो वे फॉरवर्ड आपने लिखा है उधर जाने का है, उसके लिए तरीका भी बताया कि फॉर एन इंडिविजुअल टू ब्लॉसम, एंटरिंग इनटू द स्टेट्स, एटर्नल स्टेट्स ऑफ फ्रीडम, ए कल्चर ऑफ सीजलेस लव एंड डिवोशन, अनकंसर्न्ड विद द मटेरियल आउटकम. ये उसका तरीका है उसको पास जाने का. क्या तरीका बताया गया कि अगर आपको पुष्प की तरह खिलना है और ऐसी दुनिया में जाना है या ऐसी दुनिया में रहना चाहते हो जहां कोई फालसूड नहीं है, कोई भय नहीं है, फियर नहीं है, फालसूड नहीं है, इग्नोरेंस नहीं है. 3 ही तो बैरियर्स हैं श्री मां के शब्दों में. अगर इससे मुक्त होना है और गरुड़ की तरह उड़ान भरना है तो एक ऐसी संस्कृति से बेपनाह मोहब्बत करिए जो जहां निरंतर प्रेम का प्रवाह बहता हो, जहां लगातार उसका बहता हो, बट अनकंसर्न्ड विद द मटेरियल आउटकम. और इसकी प्रवाह मत करिए कि मिलेगा क्या. अभी हमारे बता रहे थे ना कि कर्मणि एव अधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन. बच्चा हमसे पूछता है क्यों काम करें फल ना मिले. ऐसा कौन है? करेंगे ना, करेंगे तो फल मिलना चाहिए. हमने कहा भाई जिससे आप काम करते हो ना, आपका दिमाग आपका थोड़ा है. अरबों वर्षों से आपके माइंड का डेवलपमेंट हुआ है, उसमें किस किस का सहयोग है. इसलिए हाउ कैन यू क्लेम टू बी दी ओनर ऑफ दैट. उसके आप अधिकारी कैसे हो सकते हैं. इसलिए भारत ने बहुत सुंदर कहा, प्रधानमंत्री जी भी बोल रहे थे कि वी हैव डिफाइंड ओनली द राइट्स, वी हैव ओनली डिफाइंड द ड्यूटीज नॉट द राइट्स। यू सी, पिता का कर्तव्य बताया है, टीचर का बताया, माँ का बताया, भाई का बताया, बहन का बताया, पूरी रामायण देख लीजिए, महाभारत देख, हमने कहीं राइट को डिफाइन ही नहीं किया। ये अंग्रेजी का मुहावरा गलत है, फर्स्ट डिजर्व देन डिजायर। हम दरअसल में वो ये ठीक नहीं है मुहावरा। हाउ कैन यू से दैट यू डिजर्व दिस, आप कह ही नहीं सकते। और फिर डिजायर, द सीड ऑफ इंसैनिटी। इसलिए स्वाभाविक है फिर बच्चा प्रश्न करता है कि प्रेम कहां से करें, किधर से करें। तो उसके लिए भी कहा, टू ए ह्यूमन बीइंग love is one doesn't belong to oneself, one doesn't belong to himself, he does not belong to himself but to him। इसको प्रेम डिफाइन किया गया, जो अपनी परवाह नहीं करता। इधर देख लीजिए उड़ीसा में गोप बंधु उत्कलमणि देख लीजिए, जितने भी आप देखेंगे, well they were the meteors you see who consumed their lives to light the earth, you see, never bothered about anything। And also you must remember that all the matter is false and impotent unless otherwise it is manifested into the spirit, you see। Matter does not exist। Wave particle duality, the latest possible theory by the scientist, says that the smallest particle of the cell in you, which comprises almost 75 trillion cells in the body, that smallest particle in the cell is energy which is transformed into matter। So matter doesn't exist। And Lord Krishna says also, I am beyond the darkness of matter। And he also says about you also, that you are not the mind, you are not the intellect, you are not the senses, you are not the body, you are beyond that। You are the light yourself, you are the love yourself। ट्रांसेंडेंस है, प्रेजेंट मोमेंट है, बीइंग है, कॉन्शियसनेस है। अब लव कैसे प्राप्त करें, उसका फिर प्रश्न उपस्थित हो जाता है। तो फिर भगवान कृष्ण कहते हैं, ध्यायतो विषयान पुंसः संगः तेषु उपजायते, संगात संजायते कामे, कामात् क्रोधो अभिजायते, क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः, सम्मोहात् स्मृति विभ्रमः, स्मृति भ्रशात् बुद्धिनाशो, बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति। Once you contemplate upon the sense objects, you get attached to that। And while being attached to those sense of objects, and if those are not fulfilled, you see, then you become angry, you see. Your lust is not fulfilled, then you become angry। And once you become angry, then there is delusion, you see। फिर आपकी मेमोरी भूल जाती है, आप भूल जाते हैं कि आई एम अटॉमिक पार्टिकल ऑफ लॉर्ड प्रभु जगन्नाथ, आई एम द इन्फिनिटेसिमल पार्टिकल ऑफ लॉर्ड प्रभु जगन्नाथ, आई एम द पार्ट ऑफ लॉर्ड प्रभु जगन्नाथ, ममे वंशो जीव, ईश्वर अंश जीव, ये सब हम भूल जाते हैं फिर। एंड अवर इंटेलेक्ट इज कंफ्यूज्ड एंड वी आर पेरिश्ड। वेल दैट इज व्हाट इज हैपनिंग टुडे इन द होल ऑफ द वर्ल्ड, यू सी। But India can give a direction because it is a chosen country by the Almighty itself, you see। भारत ही दिशा दे सकता है, और भारत को भी दिशा उत्कल प्रदेश दे सकता है, क्योंकि यहां सीधा सीधा लॉर्ड जगन्नाथ बैठा है। ये मैं नहीं कहता, ये W हंटर कहता है। दिस लैंड हैज द पावर फॉर द लास्ट मोर देन 2000-3000 years to deliver you, to protect you, to save you, to exonerate you from all the sinful reactions। That is what W Hunter says। जितना भी मैनेजमेंट के बारे में लिखा जा रहा है वर्ल्ड में, 99% उसका नीति शास्त्र पर है, संबंध शास्त्र पर है, सेल्फ मैनेजमेंट पर, आत्म विकास पर है, नेतृत्व विकास पर है। इन 4 विषयों पर 99% लिटरेचर लिखा जा रहा है। और हमारे पास जितना लिखा जा रहा है वो सब कार्बन कॉपी है महाभारत की, रामायण की, भागवत की, योग वशिष्ठ की और कौटिल्य की और समर्थ की। इसकी कार्बन कॉपी है, डुप्लीकेट है, कार्बन कॉपी है, नकल है। हमारा चुनौती है, चैलेंज कर सकते हैं। कोई भी एक चीज अलग से कोई लिख नहीं सकता है। जगलरी ऑफ द वर्ड्स इज देयर। शब्दों के साथ जादूगिरी कर सकते हो आप, चालाकी कर सकते हो, लेकिन अदरवाइज इनसे परे ना कुछ है, ना कोई सोच सकता है। अभी एक व्यक्ति का मैं और नाम दूंगा, आपने सुना नहीं होगा, वो शरणानंद हैं। जैसे सिद्धेश्वर परिजा सारला दास बन गए, यहां ऑनलाइन कनेक्शन आजकल बहुत होता है, तो सिद्धेश्वर परिजा का भी ऑनलाइन कनेक्शन था। वी लंका लिख दिया, भागवत लिख दिया, और भागवत हमारे सबसे ज्यादा पॉपुलर है उड़ीसा में। ऐसे ही शरणानंद भी 15 साल में उनको कुछ नहीं दिखता था, लेकिन उनको ऑनलाइन कनेक्शन होता था और हर प्रश्न के उत्तर हैं, हर प्रश्न के उत्तर हैं। और उनको सुनने कौन जाता था? यू विल बी सरप्राइज, राधा कृष्ण उनको राष्ट्रपति भवन में बुलाकर सुनते थे। जय कृष्णा मूर्ति उनको सुनता था कि शरणानंद क्या बोल रहे हैं। और शरणानंद जी ने कहा है कि अगर प्रेम प्राप्त करना हो, अगर आपको वे फॉरवर्ड की तरफ जाना है, आत्म विकास, आत्म चेतना, आत्म शक्ति, सेल्फ रिलायंट इंडिया जिसको बोलते हैं, इनक्रेडिबल इंडिया जिसको बोलते हैं, वाइब्रेंट इंडिया जिसको बोलते हैं, उधर जाना है तो फिर क्या करना? सेल्फ इंट्रोस्पेक्शन करना, चित्त शुद्धि करना। कैसे करना? अपनी कॉपी पेन लेके बैठ जाइए, लिखिए जैसे आप हैं, किसी को दिखाइए मत, फिर तो नहीं लिखेंगे आप। जैसे आप हैं, जो आप सोचते हैं, जो आप करना चाहते हैं, विजन, प्लानिंग, रिव्यू, कुछ भी जो आप चाहते हैं, कैसे आप हैं। अनुभव तो ये आता है कि मुझसे कुछ गलती हो गया और मेरे बच्चे से कुछ गलती हो गया और मेरे साथ काम करने वाला कोई कर्मचारी उससे हो गया, तो तीनों के बारे में मेरा दृष्टिकोण अलग अलग रह जाता है। इसलिए मैं क्या हूं, बेसिकली क्या हूं, क्या समझता हूं, क्या चाहता हूं, इसको अगर कॉपी पेन बनाकर आप लिखेंगे और किसी को दिखाएंगे नहीं, तो फिर जो मैंने एक वर्ष बोला था, ध्याय तो विषयान पुंसे, फिर आप सेंस ऑब्जेक्ट्स को छोड़कर फिर उसको सोचना प्रारंभ करेंगे। रशिया हो, यूक्रेन हो, अमेरिका हो, इंग्लैंड हो, बताइए भारत को धमकी देने आ सकता है कोई? पागल के बच्चे हैं दूसरे, नालायक। 20-20 साल तक 328 लाख करोड़ रुपया खर्च करके तुम्हारे पास कुछ भी नहीं मिला, इधर आकर नरेंद्र भाई को आप कहते हैं कि चाइना ने आक्रमण कर दिया तो हम तुम्हारी मदद करेंगे, रूस नहीं करेगा। भारत को पढ़ाने आ रहे हैं, जो भारत से सब पढ़ कर गए, और आज भी अमेरिका से सब डॉक्टर्स बुला लें तो अमेरिका के सब लोग बीमार होकर मर जाएं। हमारा एहसान मानो कि हमारे ABSM के बच्चे तुम्हारे पास आकर काम कर रहे हैं। जिस दिन हमने सबको बुला लिया, सारी दुनिया के देश पंगु, नपुंसक, ट्रांसजेंडर में आ जाएंगे। मुझे को बहुत ज्यादा नहीं कहना ही, केवल आपके दर्शन करने का सौभाग्य प्राप्त करना था, लेकिन इतना जरूर याद रखिए, वी आर नॉट लिविंग ऑन द अर्थ प्लैनेट, वी आर द प्लैनेट अर्थ अवर सेल्व्स। वंदे उत्कल जननी भारत माता की जय।
जन गण मन
The inaugural ceremony has now come to an end.